And we are live. This is the Cryptid Chronicles by the Gathering Paracast. I'm Trost, producer Trost, and I'm joined by Heidi and Stephanie, our hosts.
Hey,
And
everybody.
there
Hey
we go.
everyone. Yeah, is this the second? It's the second Cryptid Chronicles, right? So
Yes,
this is
it
the
is.
second time we've done this. And we have a special guest on board tonight.
We do.
So we
Very
have Leon
excited.
Briggs, who was on our show probably about a year and a half ago, I think. And I don't remember what we talked about that time, but he's here to talk about a really cool subject. So hey Leon, welcome back.
Scano.
How are you? Yeah, it's been too long.
Yep. It's good to be back.
I think that was Birdman we talked about back then too, wasn't it,
Was it?
Leon? Yeah.
I think
We
so.
talked about Birdman and what Sagey Jack, the dog warrior, or the the dog with the human face in
Yeah.
upstate New York and Canada.
Yes.
Oh,
And so now we get to go in a little deeper into some Birdman stuff. And you've kind of become very familiar with this and have been actually kind of putting people together with several different witnesses now. And starting with your own sighting, actually, or if you had two sightings, Leon.
2 sightings.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And there was one I have here. I have a picture that you drew of one and that you had seen. And I'm going to throw that up on the screen.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I think you showed that. I've seen it anyway. For
Yes,
sure.
we had this on the episode, and in his sighting, there was a large bird compared to smaller turkey buzzards, which are big birds.
Those are big.
Yeah.
And there were 3 turkey buzzards on the lower branch. And it was just past, what's that, 417, past where the old Sportsman Tavern was there.
Yeah. Yes.
Going down along the river. And that time he sitting in a tree just right over the edge of the road. And so I slowed down, and I was probably 20 feet maybe underneath them, 30 feet underneath them. And then there was people behind me, and then I got down the road and turned around to see them fly off. But then the second time was up off of the old grade road and sitting fishing and stuff. And it literally came from behind me and soared down the creek. And that's when I was able to tell how wide it was, because it was well over, 20, 24 foot wide, because it was spanning, 3/4 of that creek there.
Oh,
That's crazy.
Wait, what?
so 20 feet. So each wing was like 10 feet.
Yep. And
So
one of
20-foot wingspan.
Wow.
one of the state troopers that had a encounter with, he thought was the same bird, and he had talked about it, that he was in Radar Valley out of Franklin and going down towards where we're in almost the same area where Josh and them did their Pennsylvania Thunderbirds program and stuff from. As he was going down heading towards Pittsburgh, this bird came up, and he said he thought it was going to go into his car, because it was as wide from line to line.
Wow.
That's crazy. Did he also think that his was as big as your impression?
Oh yeah. That's what he said, because when it was coming to him, he said it was the body was not quite as wide as his car, but the tips of the wings went to to the white line on one side, in almost to the middle line.
Wow. And that's a state cop that you're talking about there, right?
Right.
And this is in
Wow.
Pennsylvania. So for those of you watching, Pennsylvania, and when he talks about Josh, he's talking about Josh Gates from can't remember the name of the show. Destination Unknown.
Yes.
Expedition Unknown. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's really cool. We hear about these every once in a while, these big birds. I mean, we have some right down here at the towards the airport that have been seen by Jerry. You're on. I mean, you're on chat, so why don't you tell us what you've seen, and we'll describe, or we'll read what your description was. But go ahead, Jason.
And just to point out, for Leon's expertise, you are also a expert eagle spotter. Am I correct, Leon?
Right. I'm a registered like falconer and stuff up in New York, and I work with a couple different groups. But I used to have hawks, and I've handled a lot of eagles. And I fortunately I've been able to attend a few times when we were able to release bald eagles and golden eagles. And
nice.
So I've seen a lot of these birds, and I've actually someplace I have a photo I have to send to you of holding a California condor.
Yeah. Really?
Wow. Cool.
That condor, I mean, he stood easily 3 foot tall when he was on my arm. But this bird just dwarfs him.
Isn't that
wow.
crazy? Yeah, that is wow. I mean, what would you do if you're driving down the road and you see this creature?
Well, and that's been the one lady that contacted me. She's actually from New York City, and she actually works with my producer there in Brooklyn. And so we had gotten to talking about these and some of the legends and some of the history. And actually one of her friends, one of her cousins actually lives in Franklin's, and she had one of the same experiences. And she watched this bird fly under the bridge in Franklin, and she said she thought it was somebody in a small plane.
Oh,
wow.
Nice, like a glider.
Right. But to fly under that bridge where there's from the water to the bottom of the bridge, it's only like 10 feet tall.
Oh gosh.
So it'd have to just that's crazy.
So question. So do you think this cryptid is a physical being, or do you think it's interdimensional?
Well, it's actually, we believe that it's both.
Okay.
That, you know, and you know, when we talk about, you know, like Bigfoot or Sasquatch, with Sage Jack, you know, there's a reason that they come, and usually the reason that they come is a lesson for you. So that's when people they start asking, they're talking about. So we start asking, well, what were your thoughts at that time? What were you doing? Were you angry? You know, in a lot of times when we're working with traditional medicine and we're talking about a lot of these, you know, like what they would call cryptids, we believe that, you know, they can walk between planes, and then, you know, bring themselves visible, you know, when they need to be there. Generally, we believe it's for a teaching, or it's, you know, for something that, you know, you need to correct.
So do you think that this is like a widespread phenomenon that's might be a teaching lesson?
Jason, you're going in and out.
Oh, sorry about that. Do you believe that this is perhaps a widespread? I mean, because you've put together several witnesses now. Do you think this is a widespread lesson being taught? Did I go in and out again?
No, I heard you just fine.
Okay.
Maybe
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear everybody else. Jason is just kind of stalemate.
Oh,
weird.
So what
that's
he's asking is, with all these witnesses and people that you've talked to, do you believe that this is a widespread phenomenon, that it's happening everywhere? And
if it's for a teaching, like, is there a teaching that's supposed to?
Well, we have what's called the Guy Wheel, and also the Great Law of Peace in the Haudenosaunee, and in both of those, it talks about the spirit animals and animals transitioning to white, is coming the time that the animals are going to heal, you know, basically the human population. You know, it's going to set things back into order. And so when we look at that, you know, we have to, those are our teachings. And so when we follow that, we see a lot of times people having, dreams and having, visions and even doing spirit drawings and stuff of these, of some of these cryptids or even some of these animals. Now, not too far from me, the one of the ladies is rehabbing an albino red-tailed hawk. Oh. And it's, cool. I mean, she's a big bird, and she's the only thing that's not white is her tail.
Wow.
Cool. That's awesome.
Neat. Yeah.
So Jerry is saying he's describing what he saw, and my daughter both saw this creature come up over the Mississippi Valley here, closer to St. Paul than Minneapolis. He's saying it had an eagle body, but 4 times the size with a prehistoric head. Is that kind of what you see too?
Right. And its eyes were more like a cat's eyes. They were, they were more paralleled. And so when you look at how you would see an owl at night with the round, this base more had that piercing look and stuff to it. But it's, with its body, even its wing feathers and stuff, they were very ruffled. They were, when you see some of the old style cryptid birds and stuff they talk about, like up in Alaska, and you see that their wings and their feathers aren't, they're not smooth. Mm-hmm. And I've listened to bird people when I was up in Alaska. They were talking about, birds that are like that because, when they're flying, they can literally, instead of moving their wings, basically hover right in one spot.
Wow. That's interesting.
Like a helicopter kind of,
right.
Wow.
That is cool.
We're all just thinking about it now.
I know, right? We're all just like,
so we're gone. No show anymore. It's just so interesting to think about something like that, especially when you're talking about the size of this thing. I mean, so they call it Birdman, but is like the drawing that you had doesn't resemble a man other than maybe the size.
This was a bird. When some of the people get closer to the Ohio line, like Jamie King, and they were talking about that it had more of human legs and then a partial human face to it. Oh. This was definitely a bird, and it didn't have a raptor beak and stuff to it. It literally had that triangular style beak that you would see in a lot of the the old paleo birds and stuff that were used for breaking things.
Huh.
But I know when I was sitting there, when I was fishing and stuff, when it flew over, I mean, I just caught the glimpse of it coming from behind me, but it was like when its wings moved, its wings, instead of just breaking, it was like almost like it had multiple joints.
Wow.
Because you could see it, having that wave. But when its wings flapped, it didn't have a noise and stuff like you would hear like a turkey vulture or a turkey taking off. Mm-hmm. But like I said, when he came down through that creek, I mean, he was basically 20 feet above me and then leveled out right down the creek. And that creek is probably easily 60 foot wide at that area.
Wow.
Then I talked to another guy that was fishing there, and about a month after that, and he said something flew in, and he said he knew it was a bird, and he said, but he could hear it, but he could just see a shadow as it went down through. And that was at dark. So obviously they have a good sense of radar and stuff of where they're at and how to fly, especially that low.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so you were talking earlier about how when you see them, maybe it's a teaching moment or you're supposed to think about what you thought of at that time. So did you do that? And did it kind of make sense? You don't have to talk about it, but
When I was in New Zealand, I belonged to I was adopted into a Maori warrior society.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the visions and stuff they did when they painted me up is I literally have the head and face, and then coming out my arms, is a Thunderbird. And then it has the eagle ascending from lower and then coming up to the Thunderbird's face, and so that was right after I had gotten that, and that was over 250 hours of being hand poked and stuff for the tattoo for that.
Yeah. Oof.
Wow.
Oof. Tattoos are painful. I can't even imagine such a thing. Oh my gosh. Well, that is just fascinating. And people have seen them all over, right? So, but it seems like there's a lot of them right there in your neck of the woods. It seems like
the one, the lady in Franklin said that she has talked to 14 people, including me, and then 2 others were Pennsylvania state troopers. And she said it's not like, she said, it would be somebody that was, out getting high or something like that. She says, these are woodsmen. These are people that are in the woods that know what they're doing and what they're seeing.
Right.
And she said in the description between all of them talks about, the coarseness of almost, she called it furry feathers.
Oh.
So she said it would look like some of the chickens with all the hackles and stuff on them. Except
so, like you said before, ruffled,
right?
Like ruffled, like you said. So there's similarities in those descriptions.
Yes.
And just like the Frogman stuff that we did last month, there's quite a few police that are involved in the sightings,
right?
And which adds a lot of credence to both both of the stories. Interesting.
I know one of the guys, one of the state troopers said one of his another state trooper that he knew actually got partial video. So when they turn on their lights, they have a 3-second delay, and then their video kicks in. And so I guess he caught part of that, but because it's part of the state police in Pennsylvania, he was going to look to see if there was any way that they could release that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so, and that's one of the things, because Josh Gates actually talked to some of the state troopers and his interns and some of the people that were with them, actually interviewed some of them. And so we figured it would be a lot better chance for like him or one of his people that's working with him have a lot better chance of being able to get a copy of that video.
Yeah, that'd be very cool to see.
But no go, huh?
Well, we haven't heard yet. And I know that there are 2 other videos. One of them Josh got permission to use because one of the guys videotaped it when he was on the Ohio line. Then the other one was one of the ones from from another state trooper over there.
Hey, Leon, do you remember I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. I think it was just before COVID. There was several sightings over between like here in Northwest PA and over into the Ohio line over there of like a winged thing that was more like more described more as bat-like.
Right.
And with glowing eyes and stuff. And
there was like more like Mothman.
Yeah, it was a much more Mothman, but again, a winged creature.
Yeah.
But that one was more the descriptions that I saw for that one were more man-like than like what like than like what Leon's talking about there.
Yeah.
And that they almost, I think they even might have called it like Bat Boy or something, and like 3 or 4 different people And I met somebody that said that they saw that and that it swooped up. They were like driving along the river, and it just kind of swooped up and went past their windshield and like over their hood, and they were like, just that flash like that. Yeah,
I
it
would
was like
love that.
And you can actually look up. You can actually look up 2 of those videos that the news crews have actually published out of Ohio. One was out of Youngsville or Youngstown, Ohio. They actually did a story on it, and they put the videos and stuff up. And I guess that's what got Josh's crew interested in what was going on there.
Oh, okay. And that's that area just over the line in Ohio from us here. So that would be eastern Ohio. And Youngstown's not very far. It's just a stone's throw really from Pittsburgh. And I think Pittsburgh Airport has had a couple of different like winged cryptid kind of sightings too. It seems like
and you see some of those. Some of the other interviews and stuff. Well, I think I sent you and Steve the copy of that video and stuff that they did with Josh, and they're doing their investigation. And one of when they went down, they actually literally they flew down in gliders. And one of the farmers that had seen this real up close that came towards him said when they flew the gliders over, it was basically the same size as what the gliders they were flying.
Wow. Which goes along with your original, sighting the one that flew over your head.
Right.
That's crazy. Do you think that first one you saw in the tree was quite that big?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of it was. The trees were, they were full grown trees.
And it was dwarfing buzzards, right?
Right. There was 3 buzzards on the branch below it. And it was within a couple feet of them. But like I said, when it was on the branch, it literally, you could tell that it was, over 2 sizes, maybe even 3 times. So I would say it was probably, as it sat there, probably 5 or 6 foot tall, just sitting on that limb.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the way it's indicated on your picture there. Yeah, and I know that tree line there that comes right up to the road there. Isn't there some heron nests not too very far from
there's
there?
heron nests and stuff in there, and there's one of the only golden eagle nests in this area there. But it's also right by that old church that had all the hauntings.
Oh, I'm not familiar
So
with
there's
that.
a paranormal element here too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I'll have to I'll bring them down and show you. I can send them to you, but I have pictures on my phone of petroglyphs that are up on the hill, to the north, and at the same place. They were before Rouseville, right there, Wren Road there.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Cool.
But it is showing. It literally shows, some of those. And you look at it, you say, well, that's a cryptid.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. That is super cool.
That's very cool.
And we do.
I want this here.
Here.
Steph, we need these here. We need them here.
We do.
I have not seen one, and I would like to.
Listen, both Jerry and Casey saw them, and every once in a while when I'm down, every time I go to the airport, I'm always got the eyes to the sky, and I never see one.
Well, I know. I'm talking about. Well, I know we've had a lot of sightings of what they saw, but I'm talking about some of this other stuff too. Like, let's get more stuff coming to Minnesota here.
Maybe some of them
putting the call out to the cryptids.
Yeah.
Well, I was in Pipestone, Minnesota last fall, and up on the back of the Aim Brothers land there where they dig for the pipestone.
Yeah.
And we looked at a cat track and we cast it there, and it was 8 inches across.
Wow, big cat.
Yep.
Wow.
And one of the guys talked about it, and he said when one of the guys explained it, it looked like one of those the cats with the old tiger stripes that you see.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like the thylacine type thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you know,
That's
a lot
interesting.
of weird things are in that part of the state, you know,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yep.
So wouldn't surprise me.
Is that
Cool.
something? Did you? Is it? Do you have any witness encounters from up in Quebec? I know you spent a lot of time up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen them up there. I know. I think I told you one time I was canoeing, and where we're at there, we're up almost in Inuvik Island, so we're up on the tip of the James Bay, but we were in one tributary and stuff going back where there was a big beaver pond, and we literally watched this bipedal walk across, going through the water, and then up to the woods. So we went over, and everything was wet and slicked up, but you could see where the water, but you really couldn't figure out where the tracks were. But when we put our canoe paddles down where they were, I had a 6-foot canoe paddle and I couldn't touch the bottom.
Oh wow!
And-
Something was tromping through that.
And
Yeah,
we know, and
something
we could
big.
see exactly the log, and the log was still wet when we got over there.
That's crazy.
But you know, then we always, people talk about seeing with Sage Jack, and then some of the other you know, wolf cross
Mm-hmm.
animals and stuff up through there.
Up in Quebec.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You
What
know,
would,
and there's between the Northern Cree and even some of the Algonquins and stuff, they have so many stories of you know, miniature people all the way up to, you know, 8 and 9 foot people, and then also animals.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Awesome.
What would be Bigfoot's name in French up there?
Up there, they call him Gondages,
Mm-hmm.
Which means he walks above the water. He walks above the land.
Which kind of fits
And,
exactly that sighting
you know,
you were just talking about.
You know, like with the Bigfoot and stuff. And so when they talk, like when they explain that, and that's one of the things that people talk about, is they see him going through but not leaving any tracks.
Right.
So that's why they kind of gave him that name.
Makes sense.
That were, you know,
Mhm.
walking above the water or walking above the land.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's very
That's
cool.
awesome. That's awesome.
Gosh, well, this has been super fun. So, Leon, do you have anything exciting coming up that you want to share? And I know you have a very busy calendar. So, where are you next?
Well, I'm actually kind of close to home. I've been doing teaching a program, speaking on when the woods was alive, and it talks about, you know, what be pre-colonial, you know, pre-contact, also through you know, stages of you know, the dams coming in and what the dams have done, how they've changed the waterways, how they changed plant life and aquatic life, but also talking about places where they've been taking the dams out, and they're plants that were said that were extinct because they put the dams in,
Yes.
are starting to reappear.
Yep.
Yeah, even some of the clams that have been, they have to be dormant for almost 100 years,
And
that
then
are
they come
starting to
back.
reappear.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it's quite amazing. Like out in Washington State, you know, they're starting to undam a lot of those rivers, and the whole ecosystem comes back. It's quite amazing. You know, it's quite amazing. You know, so
That is incredible. And the shifting of the ecologies there.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Because Eagle Rock, not very far from here, was one heck of a clamming village at one point, wasn't it?
Right. And that was one of the big sturgeon nurseries. A lot of the sturgeon came up all the way up through into Lake Chautauqua, up in all the way up into the headwaters.
Really?
So now that the sturgeon they're finding breeding populations, black and white, in the Allegheny. They had we found a fish weir in Cambridge Springs, Pennsylvania, that was in the black mud, and it had remnants of scales and stuff in it that it literally had a sturgeon in it.
Oh, really?
And so they tested that, but the sturgeon, like I said, the sturgeon used to come up. When they talk about the 1750s and 60s, that when the water came up, they would put these huge barges in, at Fort LaBeouf and go all the way to Duquesne, all the way to Fort Pitt. Mm-hmm. And so you can see those differences in the waters.
I wonder too if the work that's being done to help ecology, to help the land, to help the waterways, is that why? I wonder if that's why there's so many sightings there in that area. I mean, could it be connected? Like they're coming to say, "Hey, fix this." Like you said, a teaching. Like we need to be better. And then maybe monitor it or manage it or keep coming until we get it. Like which could take a while. Yeah, I wonder.
And now you see on the Allegheny and you see on some of these other smaller waterways coming down, they've already started taking some of those dams out. They've talked about, what they want to do with the Kenzoo Dam.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
But the water's been dropped down so far because, it's got a 180-foot crack in one side, and then the 200-foot crack on the other side. But, they look at just keep dropping the water, and a couple of the liveries and boat yards and stuff were there. Now they're 500-600 yards from where the water used to be.
It was awfully low last year. It was horribly low.
They talked about, because it's only giving power, that whole $1 million process is what multi-million dollars a year, and it's only giving power to 42 households, and only 6 of them are full-time households.
Yeah.
But then they talked about what to do. So they talk about we suggested just blowing it up.
Yeah.
But we can't do it, and we're pretty.
Tidiute might not like that.
Well, there's 2 other dams between there in Tidiute.
What do you mean?
Right there, when you drop down off the river and you get to Youngsville, there's that breakage dam there that stops a lot of the big stuff going down through.
You mean that ice flow dam?
Right. And so now, but with that is 6 guys died when they were building that dam that fell in the concrete. So now that there's also a funerary.
Yeah.
So my suggestion was just to knock a hole through the middle of it and fill up what's left there, because that way you're not going to bother the ones that have passed.
There's a lot of tales too when they were putting in that dam of exposing large chambers, and then there's also a tale of an actual gunfight with giants at the with the and it's actually a pretty widespread tale. A lot of people have heard it.
Wow.
And and not very far from here, between here and that dam, probably about halfway, is where the hickory giants were reported to have been found, and those are actually reported to be the biggest giants on record in North America.
I remember you talking about those.
Yeah, and that's not very far from there. And then on the other side of the lake, they have another area over there. I can't remember what it's called offhand, and I think it's on the New York side, where they had a lot of giant
up on the other side of Willow Bay.
Huh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And me
Cool.
and Tommy have always said that Cryptovania is the center of the universe. So
You have said that. You still
That
do.
sounds like it might be the case, actually.
yeah.
Gosh.
Yes,
Cryptid
yeah.
Central.
Yes.
Yep. And a lot of it goes back to, maybe there was a couple of oil booms here long before Colonel Drake did his well. So yeah, interesting stuff.
For sure.
And
Cool.
and the thing is, me and Leon get together, about every other month because he'll have some kind of tire issue, and we'll get to BS a little bit, and and I'll watch somebody else fix his tire because
And
I'm
you talk,
busy.
and then you guys get to
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, because I'm busy. I'm entertaining customers.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got to do this
Yeah.
research. You
That's
got to
Yes.
right.
catch up.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we're past our time. So, Leon, thank you so much for joining us again. And, we'll have you on again at some point. And good luck with all of your lectures and your visits and your talks coming up.
Yeah,
I have a
great.
friend of mine. He's collected some stories from some of the Seneca stories and stuff from the Canadian side, and we're going to try. We're going to try to put a book together with some. There's about 30 different stories about cryptids and
Neat.
so
Yes, very
it's kind
cool.
of one of the things that we're looking at doing. So
Yeah.
Great.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be Perry, would it?
no, but Perry is one of the big. Perry's got one of those brains that remembers everything word for word. That's why he's such a good storyteller. Every time I get to introduce him, I always introduce him as the fastest turtle in the East. Because he's Turtle Clan, and his father's actually from Tonawanda, from my reservation.
Very cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us, Leon, for sure. And thanks to
Yes.
everyone watching. And if we have some troops watching and some service people, thank you for your service, and please be safe.
And everybody in the chat room, thanks for joining us. And wherever you're listening to us, where you tuned in, thank you so much. Cryptovania TV, thank you for hosting our show. And Trost, thank you for producing once again. And Chief Leon, thanks for being on our show. We want to have you back with us again to hear more of your stories. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
you guys have a great evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Stephanie. And see everybody next week.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Yep.
Good night.
Bye.